Hello, and welcome to another episode of Career Retrospectives right here on the Super Review Show. I am joined by my two very good friends, Kyle and Mike. What's going on, guys?
Hey, I'm really excited about this one.
Yes, really excited. Mike, are you excited about this?
Oh, excited, guys. I've been knitting Metallica socks that I want to wear for this review, so I'm wearing them if you don't know.
Better
So,
make me a pair too.
but I'm not going to show them. That's the most cruel part. I made them just to not show them. So.
Are they bright yellow just like the album cover?
Yeah, they're yellow. They big M's on them. Weird. They're
Nice.
cribs on them. It kind of makes me look like weird, But
Oh my God.
whatever.
But if you can't tell already, we're talking. We're a little delayed on because we've been going through the wheel. But today we are discussing and breaking down and talking about Metallica's 72 seasons that was just released earlier this month in April 14th, if I'm not mistaken, that Friday. We all have different things to say, but I'm gonna let Kyle go first on this one and give his overall thoughts and stuff like that for Metallica's 72 seasons. So, my good friend and coworker, what do you got?
Yeah, so Metallica, as you know, me and JT have done that career breakdown of them and ranking all the albums. So if you check that out, you'll know that Metallica is one of my, back in the day, it was one of my all-time favorite bands.
Yeah.
Over the years, they have fallen from that, majority due to them just not releasing things for such long periods of time that just kind of, the fan in me just kind of stagnated a bit. So this album, when I first heard that lead single, Lux Eterna, I was pumped for it. I thought that was a kick-ass lead single. It was great. The singles that followed, I was a little bit iffy on, but at the end of the day, this album did kind of what I was expecting from a Metallica record at this point in their career. I'll get into exact specifics when we talk about tracks and breakdowns and stuff, but it's not a bad album. I'll start off by saying that. Would I classify this as one of their greats? No, spoiler alert. I think it's a good album, and that's pretty much where I fall with it. One thing I really like about it, though, is that it is an incredibly consistent album in that a lot of it, and I feel like this has been a very rare thing, especially in the past couple of years, and for things that we've talked about on this channel. I feel like a lot of things we talk about and a lot of albums in general lately have had this thing where it's huge peaks and huge valleys. This one doesn't really have that. It has hills and meadows. It's very consistent throughout. If you heard one thing on it, you pretty much know what you're in for the whole record, for better or worse. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But the real star of this record, James Hetfield, by far best thing on this album. I don't know how this man's vocals sound the best that they have in their career on, this late into it. The guitar riffs on it are great. The rhythm section, as someone who's really into rhythm and rhythm guitar, the riffs on this are great. James Hetfield, he's honestly probably my favorite rhythm guitar player, one of my favorite guitar players of all time. Vocals excellent. Lars is Lars on the drums. I mean, you're not getting excellent drumming on it. It's just pretty standard. The guitar solos are very stock on this. I don't think there was a single memorable guitar solo on the entire record. Not to say that the solos aren't good. They're performed well. There's just none that really stood out to me. But I'll leave it at that for now. And I'll get into more specifics when we do a full track breakdown.
Cool. And I know Mike thought this was the best album of the past 5 years. I mean, he loved it so much.
It's the best Metallica album in the past 5 years.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Well, it comes down to the current relationship with the band in order to be able to kind of tell people where you're at. And if you in the last 4 or 5 albums, if you were on board and off board, then this album will be a pleasant kind of journey into kind of the continued sound that Metallica has been doing for the last 10 years or whatever, and can continue to be, like Kyle said, and very well said, it is very consistent in its like, you know what you get from the beginning to end. There is no twist turns, there's no risks. It's pretty much what you expect from the beginning to end. Now if you're coming from the school
hold on, Mike, one sec. Were you guys able to hear me well during all that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because my mic, I just realized, was all the way across the desk. Okay.
Keep going.
Actually,
Loud and
it kind of
clear.
created
Alright,
a
good.
weird almost like a softness to your voice that I enjoy it. And I
Interesting.
feel like maybe you should try the mic farther away. I mean, it's just like
The soothing.
unorthodox sometimes becomes the standard.
Interesting. Well, I'm glad you're able to hear me the whole time.
Yeah. No, if we weren't able to hear you, trust me, Kyle, I would have shut you down immediately. Like I would have been going like this, like, Kyle, no, call it off.
Quick,
So,
put him on mute. Put him on mute. No, I'm just kidding.
Put him on mute. Yeah. Well, we can hear you, and you have a good mic. So, shout out to the mic company. You want to plug them real quick, or
If only I knew what it was.
if only I knew. Interesting name, but must be one of them new companies. But yeah. So it's interesting. So overall, I didn't have a great experience with this album, and I'll go over that more so often. But yeah, like it definitely it's kind of a continued bitter taste in my mouth from the missing elements that Metallica has done a very good job at eliminating album by album, coming down over the years. They've eliminated very specific elements I'm going to talk about later on that are the key components to Metallica's sound that once gone, no longer, in my opinion, can be a Metallica release. And this kind of fits right into that.
The lack of any ballad, any slow part on the record except for one.
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, you're
Which
literally
was a major highlight of the record, I'll add.
right, 100%. Yeah, there's so many other little elements and things, but yeah, I'll get more into that when we go over into the next part here. But yeah, it's missing very specific elements that just killed me. Like it was a stab in the chest. And unfortunately, I come from the old school. I'm a little bit older than everybody here. I'm tied to that sound and that kind of, yeah, I'm the grandpa, man. I'm the guy sitting in his rocking chair, like, saying, it's not what it used to be, yeah. Fortunately, that's just me. So
it's all right. It's all good. So me going into this Metallica record of 72 seasons, I was really excited when I heard Lux Eterna. I was through the roof, like, oh my God, they're actually going somewhat back to a style of like their original days, like the Seek and Destroy, the Meta Militia kind of days, with a little bit of Ride the Lightning in there, a little bit, but with a modern production. I was thinking about, it's weird. Like I listened to it twice since my initial listen. And by the way, I did an initial reaction that day, April 14th, for without giving away too many spoilers. It was just an initial, like, I listened to it once. I was like, all right, I got to do a quick video on it. It's up on our YouTube channel. Check it out on our YouTube channel. But I shared some of my initial thoughts there, and I the more I let it sit in, the more I let this Metallica album sit in, I pretty much agree with what both of you said. To Kyle's point of, like, it is consistent. There's no really, like, it's not like a roller coaster where you go like sky high, then you go super down. It's kind of like a hit, like the way the Kyle said it was like a hill and a valley. It's like, oh, we're going up, going down, but not like a steep incline and a huge downfall. Not like where most albums are, like there's a bunch of really, really good tracks, then there's two sucky tracks, then there's a good track. And this is actually very consistent for the most part, which I applaud Metallica for doing. I applaud Metallica for actually putting together an album that was consistent. You know how many hit singles there are today in the world? You know how many? Too many. You know how many albums we need like this? More, because it was just so consistent throughout the whole thing. Now I could see why they chose Lux Eterna as the first. We'll get into the track listing in a second, but I could see why they chose Lux Eterna as the first single to be released. Hey, there's a new Metallica album coming out. I could see why they did that, because it was probably the most. It might have been the fastest song and the slickest song on the record in my.
Oh, for sure.
For sure, yeah, exactly. I wasn't sure if you guys were on the same page as that, but because we haven't gotten to the track listing yet. But that's just. It was so slick, and I was like, "Oh my god, that was so good. Where's more of that?" And then they released "Screaming Suicide" and the other singles that followed. I lyrically, I don't know if you guys we could touch on this more on the track listing, but lyrically, this is actually I think definitely like their most. I don't want to say experimental, but it's definitely like something
I'd say
unique.
it's some of his most personal lyrics.
Yeah,
Most personal, introspective. Like I said, Hetfield is by far the star here. Every
yeah.
positive thing I can say about this record comes down to James Hetfield.
absolutely. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. Thank you for helping me out. But I think this personal touch on Hatfield, and you're right though, his voice, for a guy who's pushing, how old is he? Like 60 something now?
Be at least 60.
Yeah. And
I
his
think in
voice
your-
still sounds that good.
In your personal review, you said to me he was like 60 something, and he's like definitely closer to just almost 60. I don't even think he's 60. Yeah, but you like I was listening to your other review, and you're like, he's like 60 something, and I was like, oh crap, man, you just add like 10 years to his life.
Oh god.
That's
No,
funny
but
as hell.
you forget that though. Like their first band.
He's 59. He is 59.
Yeah,
He's
right.
59. Okay, that's good to know.
Will
Thank
be
you for
60 in August.
someone fact checking me there. Is it happening to be the week? Is it the same weekend we're seeing him? Just out of curiosity, or no?
It is August 3rd,
Is it actually?
which is the day before we see them. Yes.
That's so crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, for
So
those
our
who don't know,
point still
Kyle.
stands.
Yes.
Maybe have a drink for his birthday. Oh, hold on, never mind. That's not a good idea. Yeah, that's call that one off. Call that one off.
Bad idea. No, but
Bad
this.
idea.
But yeah, like, I thank you for clarifying that he's 59. That's good to know. But that's crazy how his birthday's August 3rd. And for those who don't know, Kyle did buy me. The two of us are going to go see Mike. Sadly, couldn't come. But we're going to go see Metallica on August 4th and 6th when they come to our regional area. I'm not going to disclose where we are, but when they come to the stadiums that we're at, we're going to go see them then. So it should be fun. But bottom line, the very first single was probably the most slickest. I was really excited about that when I heard it. I was like, oh, they're back. They're coming at it. They're lyrical, personal touch. I mean, we're going to end all that in a minute, but that's my initial impressions. They kind of lie in between both of you, more towards Cub, but definitely both of you guys for sure. We're pretty much on the same wavelength, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump over now. For those who are listening to us, as you know by now, we're just going to talk about we're on the Wikipedia page. We're going to talk about their new album, 72 Seasons. And it's not, you know what I found out? It's their longest record.
Yeah. And it's also their first record in like the past 30 years since Injustice for All to not go number one.
We were just saying that before you came on. I was like, oh my God, it's their first album since Injustice for All that didn't hit number one on the Billboard 200. That's crazy. But
their last couple albums have been. Oh, what did you say?
What is number one on the charts right now? I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah.
And more importantly, what it really is number one in this day and age. I mean, back in the day, number one really meant something. Today, it's
Doesn't
just
mean anything now.
Facsimile of what real like being number one is. But as I was gonna say, their last couple albums have been longer. Like their songs have been longer than usual.
Yes.
I mean, like this is becoming a trend for Metallica, where you have these longer songs, longer kind of albums.
Song on the record though.
That Hardwired deluxe edition with like the bonus tracks and everything was absurd.
Oh,
it was a great release. It was awesome, but a lot of unnecessary things on there.
And most average aged Metallica fan probably fall asleep in a chair before they can finish half the album.
Oh God. Yeah. Oh God. But yeah, and I did find out this was their most longest album to date. Even though Hardwired had like Spit Out the Bone was like what 7 minutes, whatever, and it's Hardwired. So yeah. But anyways, let's jump down to the track listing. So we're gonna try something a little different here today. We're gonna go track by track on the album, and we're gonna discuss like what we think about. Instead of like us taking turns, we're just gonna say we're gonna start with 72 Seasons, and we're gonna give our impressions and our thoughts, and then we're gonna go from there. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this for a sec. Let's start with the title track. Oh, my favorite. Actually, not my favorite on the record, but 72 seasons. Kyle, why don't you go first about 72 seasons?
This was a great start to the album. Uh, it's an aggressive start, which is something that I feel a lot of the tracks to follow lack, is an aggression to them.
Mm.
It's literally, like I said, one of the few aggressive moments. Some of it has points of that old school thrash that they were doing, back in the day. Is that does shine through sometimes here. I think it really could have been elevated. So I'll just start by saying this is a 9 out of 10 for me. This
Okay.
is one of my favorites on the record. Not my favorite, but one of them. It's definitely up there. It could have been elevated to a 10 if they chopped it down a bit. This did not need to be 7.5 minutes. There's not enough variation going on to justify that runtime, which, as you'll hear from me, is a trend throughout this entire record, is just these meandering parts that don't go anywhere. That's just, all right, we finished the verse. What do? We play the same guitar riff for another 30 seconds with no words or anything. All right, now we just did the same thing again. What do? All right, Kirk, throw in an improvised guitar solo that's just a stock solo. And I feel like that's a lot of the record. But this song is great. The chorus is awesome. It has that Metallica aggression. I think it works very well. 9 out of 10.
Mike, your take on the title track, 72
Yeah.
seasons.
And the problem with this album, and it becomes a continuously, like Kyle was kind of saying, it becomes its detriment is the repetitive stock feel of all of the voices in this song, be it the drumming is just stock, just generic, doesn't seem to be doing anything much. The guitars, riff is cool. Riff was actually cool, which transitions into another cool riff on this one. And I appreciate that, but it doesn't have the same, like, this riff to that riff doesn't feel like it ever goes anywhere else after that. It, like, just once again repeats again and does the same thing again, and that's ultimately the biggest problem, was where it journeys to, where it roams, if you will, not to mention any kind of specific songs, but it feels like people who didn't care to be together writing cool sounding riffs that essentially it's a steak with no seasoning. It's the base without any kind of, like, how it's all going to come together and accentuate the thing. It's just kind of, stock. So it started off like, this is a cool, one of the better songs of the album, but after several listens and just picking up on that, it was just a 5 out of 10 for me. It was just kind of like, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It almost felt like it wasn't a Metallica song. It was just a rock song. If I was listening to this in a concert with a beer, I'd be okay with it, because it would just be like cool riffs, like neat, like lyrical voice. Not the melody is just kind of just never really goes anywhere, and doesn't ever. And I actually went through every Metallica album, at least from the last, the ones that matter, and just would look back at the vocals and be like, where was this? Like, a vocal line that just keeps going and it's catchy and melodic, and I just wasn't finding it here. So just 5 out of 10 for me.
All right, and for me, I mean, it's no brainer. This is actually, it's not a 10 out of 10. I will say that, because yes, I do love, for those of you who've listened to us at any period of time or watched us, I do love me a good title track, and the fact that this one started off with the title track, like American Idiot, like 21st Century Breakdown for Green Day and whatnot. This is a big coming right out of the gate. I loved it quite a bit, but to both of your points, I feel like I'm going to be in the middle of both of you guys for the whole show, apparently. But it did run a little long of a song. There's no need for it to be 7 minutes and 39 seconds. Like, it could have easily been like 5 or 6 minutes. You could have cut a couple things here and there, like musically speaking, and done it that way. But it is still a title track. So for me, it would have to be So for me, it goes up to actually about an 8 out of 10 for me, because title tracks, for whatever reason, always work with me. It could be literally it could be I've said this before, it could have been Aerosmith Toys in the Attic, it could have been Green Day's American Idiot, it could have been Katy Perry's Teenage Dream. For whatever reason, title tracks work with me. But yeah, so 72 seasons, I thought it was a great start to this record. It could have been a little and I feel like I'm going to say this a lot, but a lot of these songs could have been a little bit shorter. Not by much, but just by a little bit. That's just me though. But yeah, that's 72 seasons for me. Let's jump down to Shadows Follow. This track
And I
2.
think like it would be interesting if like a band released all their songs as in just the title track, but just with one F at the end, 2, 3. how you would react to it? It'd probably be like the greatest album that's ever existed.
It would be the greatest album that has ever come out by any artist ever, including Frank Sinatra. No, I'm just kidding. No, I would flip out if that was the case. My God.
Frankie Blue Eyes. Yeah, you can't go wrong with
Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
And every song of his is just like My Way 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, My Way 1, My Way 2, My Way 3.
Exactly. But Shadows Follow. Shadows Follow. Then track 2. Kyle, you want to go first again?
Yeah, so here's where we get to that. So 72 seasons was this first hill I was talking about, right? It's not, a massive song. It's not like a peak, but it's a hill. And here's where you kind of go into that just plateau of consistency starting right here. This is a 7 for me. It's a 7 out of 10. Whereas where a lot of the songs on this record fall between a point or two, give or take from this point. So I like the riff. Again, heavy riff. All the riffs on this record are good. There's not a single riff here that I would classify as a bad riff. They're all actually interesting. But the problem is a lot of them just get rinsed and repeated throughout the entirety of these overly long songs, which is what happens here. The first part of the chorus isn't the strongest. It's not the cleanest transition at all. It's a bit too long. I do enjoy the song. The second part of the chorus is really good. And I really like those like hits and like stops in the chorus. It's very well done. It's very tight. It's clean. It's a bit too long. Again, would have been bumped up to an 8 if they shortened it down. It overstays its welcome about 4 minutes in. By the time I hit that 4-minute mark, a little bit after that, I'm like, all right, let's wrap this up. I get it. Again, another formulaic, just verse, riff, maybe solo, chorus, verse. It's just one of those tracks. It's not bad. It's still a good song. 7 out of 10 for me.
Mike, you love this song.
It actually did a little bit of a cool kind of thing along. It was like when it would do this kind of vocal kind of I can't explain it, but it just does like a kind of an interesting vocally, a little like almost felt like like Alice in Chains kind of thing, or a little bit of a vocal inflection that just kind of changed up the kind of repetition of what I get in this album. But once again, you almost can listen to these two riffs back to back, 72 seasons and Shadows Follow, and you just literally, it just sounds so similar. As you begin to hear these songs, you begin to realize how
That's the whole album.
Yeah, right. It just sounds just like somebody wrote everything kind of all in one sitting and just never really went anywhere and kind of took a whole new approach to like writing this next song. This song is going to sound Egyptian, or this song is going to sound with like some high leads on it. They were just like, nope, here's the cool riff at the beginning, and here's like the kind of the vocals that just have the same cadence. Like, it was a 5 out of 5. It was just the same thing. It was just like, there's nothing to see here, nothing that like punched me in the face, but if I was listening to it, I would be like, don't like it, don't hate it. It just kind of in the middle. So I could have gone down to a 4.5 on this one, because like I agree with Kyle, it definitely lacks in some areas, and it just kind of does its thing. And yeah, it's just pretty much 5 out of 10 for me.
All right. We're all pretty much on the same page here. It's another song. It's the second song of the album, but it is long. It's a long song. There's not really much going on with it necessarily. It does. It's kind of just like it's there in a sense. It's just I'm trying not to repeat what you guys said, because what you guys said just pretty much nailed it on the head. But I agree that this is where you start off with a bang, like 72 seasons, and then you go to Shadows Follow, and you're like, oh, didn't we just hear something like this already? Didn't we? It just happened to go like, took a little dip down. But then after Shadows Follow, we get to one of the singles that got released, Screaming Suicide. Kyle, I saw that, just letting you know.
Yeah, as a guest reviewer, Jack. Jack, put your right paw up if you like the song, put your left paw up if you don't.
He loved the songs. He loved all of it.
And he went out there and he was going to the bathroom. So I don't know what that means.
He's a Metallica fanboy. He's a 10 out of 10.
Okay. So okay, gotcha. All right.
he bleeds Kirk Hammett and whatnot.
Yes.
He saw the album cover and was reminded of his own piss, and he loves it.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Exactly.
Kyle's dog just showed up. Just want to let you guys know. Anyways, Screaming Suicide. Let's jump back over to Kyle for a sec. Kyle, Screaming Suicide. Yeah. What do you? One of the singles that got released. What do you got?
If I remember correctly, this is the second one released.
Yeah, I think so.
And here is where I was kind of like, after Lux Eterna, I was like, oh, it's kind of more in this vein, which is so where this record kind of picks up almost right where Hardwired left off. A lot of these tracks sound very similar to songs that they did on Hardwired, kind of that same vibe going on, which understandable. It's at this point in their career, they're just like, we'll just throw out some Metallica songs and whatever. This one was kind of where I got that vibe. It's like, oh, there's nothing new. And that's really what it is. The chorus for sure isn't their strongest. The verses here actually do the heavy lifting, in my opinion. The lyrics are very good. I wish the chorus was a little bit more in depth. But before the solo, I do like there's a section before the solo that does a cool little change up there that I appreciate, keeps it more interesting. This is one that I actually don't think overstays its welcome for the most part. It's one of the ones that actually doesn't feel its length, and it's not one of the longer songs on here by any means, but still 5 minutes and 30 seconds is still relatively long these days. 7 out of 10 again. We're just still in that realm of it's good, but it could be so much better. Like there's nothing that I'm seeing it that I'm like, it's bad. It's a song that I would listen to. I still like the song. I just wish that they did more with it. Again, there's this cool section, like this cool change up in like the riff and everything before the solo happens. Then the solo happens. And I'm telling you, like, I'm just gonna use an example. If you put on the solo from, let's say, Master of Puppets, Enter Sandman, Sad But True, The Unforgiven, Fade to Black, literally anything, any of their old stuff. If you put that on, I'd be like, oh, that's the solo from this song. If you played me a solo from any song on this record, I don't care how many years I have to sit with this, I don't think I'd ever be able to say, oh, that's the solo from Sleepwalk My Life Away. Never.
Yeah,
I would never. They're all the same thing.
Faceless.
All just the same. Like you could tell, like James and Lars were like, all right, Kirk, just throw down. Here's the track. Throw down a 30-second solo. Call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it feels like. So that kind of brings it down to another 7.
Mike, was there any hope? Do you think that they were just phoning it in after all?
Oh, for sure. And I was trying to put my finger on something that was a reoccurring kind of sound that was coming on in this album. And it's funny, as I was watching like the publicity showcases of Metallica on like Jimmy Kimmel or them showing up on this show or that show, or they released an article of them making some comments about their career, yada yada. I kind of realized that this whole album is a major kind of tribute to like Black Sabbath sound. I swear to God.
Yes.
Like there's so many songs in it that have that just Black Sabbath kind of vibe to them. And
that, like doom kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Vibe,
and I don't think any of their previous albums it has been this like concentrated. And I feel like where that sound does well, it lacks in the melody side, the melodic harmonized guitars that are ultimately like something that I feel like really Metallica needs to reclaim in order to kind of to kind of prove that they're not just about trying to have a modern sound, that they're okay going backward, like and kind of reclaiming some of those roots that they came from. And I don't think they want to do that. They'd like rather keep that door shut, because the more melody, the more harmonized guitars, the faster you go, the more you kind of go back to the old days of like the traditional sound. And I feel like they don't want to do that because it just isn't what they're about today. And that's fine, you know, that's fine. And that's why I'm so detached from this album, is because they've made a very blunt, clear statement that this album is about continuing the modern sound, and just kind of little moments I felt like it, you know, goes in a direction that the old Metallica would have done. But for this one, yeah, it just, yeah, like I said, it just kind of sounds like they're conjuring Black Sabbath here. It's an okay song, 5 out of 10. You're gonna hate me in this review because there's gonna be a lot of repetition of yeah.
Same for me. So
Yeah, I mean, that's just, yeah. Nothing really to see here.
Need we say more?
Yes, say
No,
less.
no. Exactly. Say less. Call us. No. So when I re-listened to this song, when I listened to the album a couple of times before we did our broadcast tonight, you could tell that why this was one of the singles. That was the second one that got released, right? Not the third, right? Yeah,
I think it was the second one.
Okay, you could tell why this was the second one that got released, because it was probably in my eyes, it was the strongest song on the record. So thus far, it's only the third song in. It's Screaming Suicide. It's still like the third song in, but at least it's shorter. It's like a whole minute and a half shorter than the first song, 72 Seasons, and it's a little bit shorter than Shadows Follow. Sorry. And this one it's not bad. It's not great. It's good. It's very good. I actually put it in the 6.5 to a 7 range about as far how good it is, because it's not bad. But if it was on again, and we're going to be saying this left and right for the next 9 songs, but like there is so much such like, hey, just as they're saying, you know, as Mike and Kyle are saying, hey Metallica, like, hey Kirk, let's lay down a track, let's just play a guitar. A lot of repetition here. They are, as I said, I feel like they were phoning it in a little bit for some of the songs. But the songs that do stand out are great. Like, you know, 72 Seasons starts out with a bang. This one is a lot better than Shadows Follow, in my opinion, and that's how I felt about it personally. But yeah, Screaming Suicide, actually really, really solid track. And for 5 minutes and 30 seconds, I feel like we're getting airplay on rock radio. I feel like that's a good time in general, because it's about how long Enter Sandman is too. So Enter Sandman is like what, like a minute, like 5 minutes and what, like 20 seconds. So it's almost the same. Like yeah, so it's about the same. So it kind of fits that like radio format of rock radio, at least. But yeah, that's just me. Screaming Suicide, good track overall. Yeah. Let's go down to track number 4, which is Sleepwalk My Life Away at 6 minutes and 56 seconds. Let's change it up for a second. Mike, you go first.
Sleepwalk Enter Sandman. I mean, Sleepwalk My Life Away. Yeah. They for a moment there, they start off with that Enter Sandman kind of riff, and it's kind of funny because Enter Sandman, okay, sleeping, okay, Sleepwalk My Life. Is this like just a way of like, I don't know, is this their like attempt to? But actually, I'll be honest with you, this is one of the few songs that, because that intro kind of came in, I really enjoyed that intro. Mm-hmm. As much as it sounded like Enter Sandman, it was something different than just a power chord riff. Like the first 3 songs all have this intentional kind of hard rocking riff that like is nice, but it doesn't have any leads with it. It doesn't have any, you know what I'm saying? It's just a power riff with nothing else alongside it. This was a nice kind of change in pace. So Sleepwalk My Life Away is kind of has that just cool intro to it. And you know, yeah, it's just like, I think it's just one of those songs that I just was like more appreciative of. Solo's not good in it, but has some more complexity to it. You begin to see a little more like a little bit more of Kirk Hammett appearing. A rare Kirk Hammett appeared in that bush over there, and he's changing his hands up the guitar, like he's actually going up the neck of the guitar. Guys, don't panic. Like he's just not like
Wow.
yeah, just like it's rare that you begin to see more of this, but it was nice to hear a little bit of that. It's just it's a little bit better of a song. It's a 6 out of 10. Like is it like, am I saying it's like the greatest thing on since sliced bread? No, but it's like I like to hear a little variation, and it was just like a little bit of an improvement in the first 4 songs. So yeah.
Interestingly enough, Mike, I also rated this one point higher than my others. So I'm gonna do an 8 on this one.
Okay. Right.
Completely agree. That intro is awesome. It's great.
Mhm.
Also, one of the few times where you can really pick apart and hear the bass very well. That's one main drawback I have here. It's like the one moment where Rob actually has a minute to shine. Other places, I feel like there's not much going on with the bass, at least that you can easily pick out. It's not injustice for all levels of drowned out and bad, but it's nice to hear it. Honestly, I think it's one of Hetfield's best vocal performances on the record. I think this song sounds great on his vocals. Has a really nice groove going on to it that I like. It does have that weird, I don't think the solo is the best. I'll agree with you on that. Again, playing wise, the solo, where it's good, it's well done, he plays it well. I don't think it necessarily was needed here. And I think that the solo and bridge section does go on just a tad too long. Could have probably cut it at least a quarter of the way down and would have been a little bit better. But yeah, I agree, a little bit better of a track than the past 2 before it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny actually, because his I agree with you guys. His vocals is really, I mean, first I just want to say James Hetfield's vocals in general throughout the record are brilliant in my opinion. I mean, for like I said, for almost 60, he's killing it. He'll be 60 in August. Don't worry, we talked about that. It's again going back to I'm using Kyle's analogy for a sec. This is kind of like we started up here with 72 seasons. We're down a little bit with Shadows Follow, up a little bit more with Screaming Suicide. Now we're back down a little bit with Sleep My Life Away. I didn't hate it. It was just kind of long, and it was like I feel like I'm gonna say that for every single track except for like Lux Eterna or something like that. But like this is just a really it felt a little long to me. I applaud the bands. I mean, apparently Rob Troho, how say his last name? Troho? The bassist. I forget how to say his name. Robert.
I think it's Trujillo, isn't it?
Trujillo?
Yeah.
Rob Trujillo, he's not one to typically when you look at Metallica record, you see either James Lars or Kirk. Occasionally you see like another like guitarist or bassist, like, and you had Jason Newsted for like 1 or 2 songs on the Black album, but for it's just, to me, I guess it was nice to hear nice to see like Rob actually having a say in the writing process, I guess, if that makes any sense. Like I mean it worked to me, it worked for Screaming Suicide, but for this one it didn't really add too much. Plus the track is 6 minutes and 56 seconds. It's almost 7 minutes long. It was a little long for me personally, but I liked it overall. I mean, I'm not gonna say I hated it, but I liked it. I liked it for what it was. I mean, I wouldn't say I loved it though, but that's me. Are we good with track 4?
5. You mean? I see what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Cool. All right. Now we're down to track 5 with You Must Burn. I got a lot to say in this. You want me to go first in this?
Sure.
You go first. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So I was when I first read the Wikipedia page, the day the album came out, like right, I said the album comes out today. I'm excited to listen to it. I'm excited to hear the new Metallica album. Whatever. I'm getting ready. I hear background vocals besides just James, and I'm like, oh my god, Rob. I'm gonna butcher his name. How do you say his name? Forgive me.
Trujillo. Yeah.
Trujillo. Yeah. You hear Rob as a background vocalist on this song. Now, did I think it worked? Sure. I guess you could say so. I mean, it's a give or take. But I mean, it's not a bad track. I mean, it might not. It's not a good track, but it's not like a bad. It's very mid. It's very meh track for me. I have to say, I think that this one is like I saw like I don't really rate tracks, but I would say like personally for me, like You Must Have Burned Us, it's at about a 5.5 for me. Like it's like literally in the middle for me, very very middle ground on this one. I didn't hate it, didn't love it. It was just kind of just there. And plus the length of it, 7 minutes and 3 seconds long, really got to me. It was like this one felt a little long personally, but that's just me and my own opinion. Let's jump over to Mike. Actually, Mike, what did you think about You Must Burn?
Yeah, it was so slow and so Black Sabbathy and so Hetfield's voice in the middle of he does an off note kind of like it sounds almost like they made a mistake in the production. Like he's making this noise. I'm like, what is going on? And this is I feel like they're trying to conjure the Black Album here. Even someone shook Lars and was like, hey, do that drum thing in Black Album where you double tap the drum like you used to do in the Black Album. He's like, all right, cool. And they're like, you want me to do anything else that follows in the Black Album? No, that's good. Just do that, and people will go, oh, that sounds like the Black Album. Cool. Like I felt like this was such a we're gonna try to make a song that sounds like the Black Album, and we're on at the same time we're going to worship Black Sabbath, and simultaneously just like kind of crap all over the idea that we're like still a thrash band. And this is the problem with this album. This band does not want to change gears. If the song starts out a certain way, it stays that way the whole time. If it starts slow, it goes slow the whole time. If it starts mid-pace, it goes mid the whole way. And if it goes fast, when I say fast, folks, I mean when you go to Taco Bell and they tell you something's going to be hot, it's like not hot. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like
comes out
sure,
like
it's
lukewarm.
hot. Yeah, and it's like our lawyers are standing by to be sued by anyone. It's fast. Yeah, like it's a 7 out of 10. Like not like their previous material, which if it said fast, it was like razor sharp. 9, speed 9, speed 10. No, like it just never knows how to change gear, and that's my biggest problem with this album. Is like you need something to kind of like add a part that's gonna like here comes the rocking part, and it's just like no, it just all stays the same speed. So I had originally had this as a 3, but then I kind of bumped it up to a 4 out of 10 for it was just agonizing and long. Could have been trimmed like a good 2.5 minutes off of this song, and you still probably would have been like, okay, what else is gonna happen in this song, and check my pulse and all that kind of stuff. So
Kyle loved this track.
I wouldn't say that. So this one, I don't think I hate it as much as Mike, but I do completely agree. It's very Sabbathy. This might as well just have been titled Metallica doing Black Sabbath here. It's cool. They don't do a bad job at it, I guess. Not necessarily what I want to hear when I listen to Metallica. I do like the lyrics, actually. I like the whole anti-cancel culture vibe they got going on with that. Like the lyrics, like foul fingers, spin, mob mentality. I actually like that quite a bit. And then, the whole chorus, who's the next witch you must burn. Great. Awesome. I like what they're saying. I wish they didn't have this slow, plodding, meandering tempo throughout the entirety of the track. Like Mike said, completely agree. I'm not going to say too much in like a repetition of it, but look back at songs like Fade to Black, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Battery. They would start off one way and they would transition to be other things. Even Master of Puppets, look at that. It starts off and then you have that slow like bridge in there. You don't have that anywhere on this record until the last track, which we'll get to. That's the one change up that happens, the one major tempo change up. Everything else is just, and most of it is just mid-tempo the entire way for 7 minutes. And this one is worse to me because it's like a slow tempo track for the entirety of the runtime. 7 minutes of just Metallica doing Black Sabbath, which as me not being the biggest Sabbath person, doesn't work as well as I'd like it to. That bridge doesn't work at all. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, I don't know if it's James's vocals or Rob singing at the same time as James there, that something's getting thrown off and it just doesn't sound good. That's the one spot on the record I think the vocals don't sound good. So this one, it's not terrible. I wouldn't call it a bad song. It's just a 5 out of 10 for me. It's one of the lower points of the record, but it's not like overtly bad.
All right. Well, we're all kind of just like, all right, that kind of sucked. Let's be real. But then from out of nowhere comes track number 6, which is Lux Eterna. I mean, let's be real, gentlemen. I'll start with this one. I love this track. I could see why it was the lead single from the record. I could definitely see like its sharpness of it. It's like it hits you directly. That drum intro just gets to you. And it's the shortest song on the record. Mind you, it's at 3 minutes and 26 seconds. It's like they were trying to go for a radio hit. No, but seriously though, when that chorus kicks in, I'm not gonna try and sing it, but James is going Lux Eterna, like the actual chorus is really catchy. I when I first started, I was like, this is really cool. I like this a lot. I hate the promotional artwork for it because the album cover sucks, but this is great stuff. Don't get me wrong. So it's like, but this I really enjoyed this track. This to me, this is the standout track on this record. As much as I enjoyed 72 Seasons as a title track, this one is a definite like 9.5 out of 10. Just hitting hard, quick, fast metal song. Love to see it, love to hear it. I know that Kyle loved this song too.
I did, I'll build off of that. This is a 10 out of 10 for me.
Oh wow.
I
Okay.
absolutely love this track. And like you said, that chorus, best chorus on the record. Hands
Oh, yeah.
down, not a doubt about it. Best, most memorable chorus here. Very welcome change. It's the fastest song on the record. Is it the fastest thing they've ever done? No. But it's a nice change up and it's awesome. And then one thing I want to point out is the whole full speed or nothing lyric in that chorus. Where's that mindset for the rest of the record?
Exactly.
Non-existent. So I really like this one. It's a classic Metallica track. They should have learned from this track when they recorded it, like, maybe we don't need everything to be this long track. We can just make a short song. Let's look at the Black Album, right? Their most commercially successful, and in my opinion, their best record, one of the top 5 albums of all time. But on that, they managed to have songs that were not just long for the sake of being long. They were about, usually that album hovered around like 5 to 6 minute mark, right? But they all actually went somewhere. There was a purpose to it. This shows that they can write songs like this. Why they don't do it more, I'll never understand. Same thing on Hardwired, where they had the title track, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, is one of the best on there because it's just straight to the point. There's no like bells and whistles for no reason, and it's awesome. And this song, best chorus, best thing on, well, it's tied for best track on the album for me. There's 2 major standouts. This is the first of them.
Mike,
And then Mike's gonna come in and be like, I hate this song.
It's only positive thing that really keeps it as one of the better tracks on the album is that it's not super long. So let's put it this way. If like all you're gonna do is one thing, do that one thing and don't beat that into the ground. And I think that's an important thing of this album is like they kind of do the same thing over and over again. And this song allows them to do that, which done well, but not be it and just drag it on. So I appreciate them not doing it. If they're not going to add anything, don't keep us waiting around for them to add something. Like what's coming up next? Oh, just repeat the same thing. It was nice to just 3 minutes and 26 seconds. That riff is cool. It's got that speed. Solo's all right. It's like it's probably the best track on the album, to be honest with you. 6.5. Like I said, it's nothing like I'm blown away by. It didn't start out with an acoustic kind of intro that went into like something like a cool kind of like that would have been really cool if it started out with an acoustic thing and then went into like a you know a certain type of riff, and then it led into the Lux Eterna thing. It just kind of did the Lux Eterna thing all the way through.
Mike,
So.
acoustic guitars are not allowed on this album. They're not
Yeah,
allowed.
I believe that's they all wrote on a little paper at the studio, no acoustic guitars. I put it up on the wall so that they could someone breaks one out like
I
and
blame
we don't want
Lars.
to. Lars, I blame his freaking just stock drumming.
He was like, if I can't have my Saint Anger trash can snare, you can't have an acoustic.
Yeah, screw that. Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Oh my god. So that was Lux Eterna, the center of the record at track number 6. Let's jump down. I just want to say thank you for everyone who's jumping in the chat board, by the way. I appreciate all of you. We all do. Yeah. So all right, we go from Lux Eterna to a somewhat longer song with 5 minutes and 49 seconds of Crown of a Barbed Wire. Kyle, what a dip.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's the worst song. I think there's worse things on here. It has a cool guitar riff, but again, it doesn't do much. It has a weird transition to an underwhelming bridge. This has major Load era vibes to it, which I'm not the biggest fan of that record. It has a couple of standout songs, but this brought me back to that time. It's a 6 out of 10 again. Coming from Lux Eterna right into that, it's a bit of a dip, but it's not something I would consider horrendously bad. I wouldn't put it on the same level as You Must Burn. It doesn't, mainly because it doesn't overstay its welcome too much. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's a 6 out of 10.
All right. Mike, do you want me to go next? Do you got it or?
Yeah, you can go next.
All right, cool. So Crown of a Barbed Wire. I mean, we said this from the get-go. I feel like Lars. I feel like Hatfield's lyrics are very personal on this record. I think we all kind of agree on that. The lyrics are not the problem here. I feel like the problem here is the music itself. The music itself begins to like, the music begins to like get a little like just. I mean, first off, it's the 7th song on the record coming off of Lux Eterna. Lux Eterna was just a fast, quick-paced song. And then you get into Crown of a Barbed Wire. We're like, all right, and we're getting a little longer. It's not a bad song, but it is a step down though from Lux Eterna, and in my opinion, not bad, not a bad song, not just a song in general that's very much like, So we hit a really good high with Lux Eterna. Like it's almost like you're driving through like a big valley or a field. You're going up the hill a little bit with Lux Eterna, and then you're going down a little bit with Crown of a Barbed Wire, if you put it that way. That's where I kind of stand on it. It is 5 minutes and 49 seconds, so it is a little bit longer than Lux Eterna, so it feels long to an extent, but yeah, I can definitely see where Kyle's coming from. Mike, what do you got for Crown of a Barbed Wire? I smell the I Hate It shirt coming out on this one.
Yeah, we got it. If my background would allow. Yeah, it's a 3 out of 10. I'm sorry. I hate to say those words, but this was agonizing. Just this intro that's just just bland. It's just doing some once again Sabbath stuff going on. It just kind of just does nothing, man. It was just I was just like wondering what is going on here. Like, You Must Burn and Crown of Barbed Wire are some of my least favorite tracks on the album. And it just doesn't get any better here. So yeah, 3 out of 10. There's not much I can say about it besides like I agree with Kyle. It kind of conjured up some of the Load or Reload, probably more like Reload. But it was just
whoa, Reload was actually good, Mike. I'll fight you on that
one. Hey, listen here, all right. I have to spit the truth, all right, sir. And
give me fuel, give me fire.
Like, my God, when I listen to Crown of Barbed Wire and then I listen to, any of their first 5 albums, it just really makes me just can't believe this is where they're at. putting out music for the sake of putting it out, not really bringing anything to the table. No risks, no cool turns.
All right.
Exactly.
Sorry, I hate to be that guy. I'm a big fan of the two, but that's the point. Anyways, Crown of a Barbed Wire. We shared some light on that. Let's talk about Chasing Light, which is 6 minutes and 45 seconds long. We got a couple 6-minute tracks here. But let's talk about Chasing Light for a second. I'm actually I've got a couple minutes. Kyle, can you start this one? Okay, is that okay?
Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
This is an interesting track for me in that I actually like the chorus of it. The chorus I think is actually pretty solid. I really like the lean on me yells that he does, but overall as a song, it's a 5 out of 10. Other than that chorus, it has really not much going for it. It just, again, one of those tracks that just meanders along. You have the cool chorus, and it's like, all right, we built an almost 7-minute song around this one cool idea that we had, and that's about it. 5 out of 10 really doesn't do much for me. I actually liked it more. It's interesting. This is a track that I think kind of similar to how Mike felt about 72 Seasons. This is one that on first listen, this was in my tops. Like I had a lot of tracks kind of reversed in how I felt about them over repeated listens. I like this one quite a bit at first, and then the more I listened to it, the more I was like, I have to weed through a lot of crap to get to that chorus.
Yeah. Mike, do you want me to go, or you got it, or
I'll just go to get myself out of the way.
okay.
Yeah, like it was just like it was nice to hear him like scream something in the chorus, and it was like wow, like they're showing signs of like just going out of the same bubble that they've been doing for the last songs, and they just almost reminded me of like a Megadeth for a couple seconds there. But like Kyle was saying, it's just there's nothing really to find here. It's just kind of like the riff is kind of cool with the chorus, and other than that, like it just it's just a kind of a bland song. It's definitely like 5 out of 10. I agree with you there. Just nothing really special here.
Need we say more? We're all on the same boat here. We're all pretty much on the same page. Unfortunately, Chasing Light is just one of the. It's like I'll give it like a 5.5. I'll be nice about it. I'll be the nice guy here. Sorry, everyone, but no, it's not. It's not bad. It's just forgettable. It's kind of boring, and it's 6 minutes and 45 seconds long. Nothing. Hey, look, I said this when I did my initial reaction. I don't mind long songs. I mean, I love so many songs that are some of my favorite songs of all time are over 7 minutes long or 8 minutes long. Music and has no time limit. It could be something like Rush, where it's like 21 minutes long. It could be something as short as Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon by Queen, which is like a 52-second song. Could be anything. So, but just length plays a factor in this, in my rating and my role and my feeling of this record as a whole. It's just like the length of the songs really just gets me after a while. That's just me though.
Remember, the length doesn't matter. It's how you use it.
Here.
That wasn't a sex joke, right? I want to make sure we're good.
No, we're talking about the length of the songs, JT. What are you talking about?
JT.
Sorry, I have such a dirty mind now. I'm sorry, everyone.
Yeah.
Anyways, I digress. We're talking about the length of the song, not the length of something else.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no worries. We're not gonna get clean. Don't worry. So Chasing Light was very, very mid for me. I mean, I'm saying like a 5.5 here as well. Going back and forth on the two, but yeah, that's nothing crazy. Let's talk about track number 9 here, called "If Darkness Had a Sun." The single release, by the way, is very like the album cover for the single is so like strange. At the same time, it's like a guy on this like jumping on his side or whatever, and it's the Metallica logo underneath it. It's kind of weird. I will say that, but I'm gonna let Mike go first before I go off on like the album covers again and how yellow was a weird choice. But go on, Mike. What do you got?
Oh God, these plotting intros are just they're laboring, like it's just like you're waiting for the song to go and come on, go. And finally when it takes off, The reward is just kind of like, okay. And kind of catchy chorus, and like has some things that'll get stuck in your head, but it's just like it really is lacking a lot of those elements that I was speaking about early on. And what's nice is it kind of has like some of the little bit of a lead over top of over the rhythm, and it kind of does some of that well. But other than that, it's just kind of like it's plodding, it's slow, and it's clumsy. The drumming is just clumsy. I mean, honestly, I really feel like they're just making this album so Lars can play it live and not feel like he has to keep up with the rest of their material that makes him have to like channel his Hulk, powers to like be able to perform it. So yeah, it's 5 out of 10. It's just kind of, yeah, it's just boring. It's plodding.
Kyle, is there any hope for Darkness Side
Uh,
of Sun?
Yes, actually, surprisingly
Okay.
so. This was, being the third single released. This was the last one I listened to before the album. I didn't listen to 72 Seasons beforehand because I draw the line at 3 songs before a record. So this one, at first, I hated this. When I first heard this track, I couldn't stand it. Upon further listening, it grew on me a lot. It's actually one of the catchiest choruses on the record. I actually really like this one. It could have benefit from being trimmed down, like Mike said. At times, does it kind of just plod and meander along? Yes, but again, that's something I'm not going to. It's the whole album, as we've said, can benefit from that. This is an 8 out of 10 for me. I like this one a lot. I found myself going back to it significantly more than a lot of the others. Is there problems with it? Sure, but that chorus is great. And the lyrics on it too, again, very like introspective and personal. I like that, hearing it from Hetfield.
Nice. I'll go next if that's okay.
Well, you
I
have
actually-
to go next because we both go on. But I mean, I don't know.
Oh my God, I'm
there's a
losing
fourth
my brain
person.
cells.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself just so I could interject that. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't. I'm watching the chat board. Forgive me, everyone. I'm like, what the? Anyways, but thank you for interacting. But I'm losing my brain cells as we speak. I'm getting so much problems. No, this one did grow on me. This one did. It's. You could see why it was released as a single. I mean, yes, it's 6 minutes and 36 seconds. Totally cool. Again, music has no length. It's ultimately whatever they decide to do. I really like this one as well. Actually, now I think about it, I was re-listening to it more and more. I'm like, if I figuring out like the ones that I really liked all the singles that got released from this record for whatever reason. And that's no diss to like the other songs on the record, but for whatever reason, the singles that got released, I actually only listened to Lux Eterna and Screaming Suicide, but going through my whole listen to them, like, the singles are probably the strongest songs on here. I mean, just saying, but this one actually is really good take. I really like the track a lot, and yeah, I'm gonna say that this is I like this one a lot. So it's a solid 7 out of 10 for me. It's really, really good. What if it's? I have to sort of be in the mood for it in a sense, though. Like not in a bad way, be in a mood for it, but just be like, oh yeah, I gotta be like, if it's on, I'm gonna be happy that it's on, and then I'm not gonna be bothered by it, like the way like other music, like turn that off. I'm actually like if it's on, I'll be like, all right, good, that's on. So that's the way I feel about that. Yeah. So, anyways, that's If Darkness Had a Sun. Let's go down to Too Far Gone, which is the 10th track on the record. 10th track on the record. Mike, we're so far into this record.
The answer is yes, but anyway, yeah, like it literally, this is one of those songs that suffers from album fatigue, and it's like if you had taken this song and just released it by itself, like separate from an album and just alone without previous material to like put it up against, the opening riff wouldn't sound so kind of just similar. Like the opening riff is actually kind of cool, but then it just kind of goes into parts that like I just personally feel like lose the momentum. And it's not a bad song, but once again, this is where listening to an entire album changes the rating. And and versus just a single song. And yeah, it just started out promising, but then once I got to just parts of the song, I'm just like, it's just the same thing, you know. It's just kind of like it does some cool things, but just not enough of it to keep me interested. So it's just, you know, no shock here. It's a 5 out of 10. Just like, you know, don't hate it, but also with what I've heard, I'm just at this point ready to just shut the damn thing off and be done with it, you know. And I was at that point, I was just like, when I saw the last song, I'm like, no, why is this 11 minutes long? What have I done to you, Metallica? You just do this to me. I'm gonna go into rehab after this. But yeah, like sorry folks. Write your letters to
If you want to
Gilbert.
file a complaint to Mike, you can reach us on
Yeah.
Twitter and Instagram at the
Twitter,
Super
yes.
Review Show.
Yes, exactly. So,
Clearly
yeah,
he's too because clearly he's too far gone. Yeah, for me, and we're all too far gone at this point. This is no, I remember this. This was the song because after If Darkness Had a Sun, I actually came on to it, like, and sorry, that came out wrong. Sorry, I got to the song on the record, and I was like, oh my god, is it over yet? Because I didn't realize how long it was. Like you start to feel it is too far gone. You start to feel how long it is around this point, and I'm like, literally, this song, and then Room of Mirrors, and then the In Immorta, whatever it's called. I was like, oh my god, is this over yet? I was like, but this was when I started to feel like, you know, I was like, all right, where is this? What are we doing? I started like I was eating breakfast at the time when I first listened to this, and I was like, where am I? Like, and I'm in my house, and I'm like, where am I? What's going on here? I just felt so lost because it just was going on for so long. And I agree with Mike's point, though. This is the part on the record where it's like it starts to feel from album fatigue, and it does feel. I agree with him to a T on that, truthfully, and how it really just feels like the album just starts to lose its like your attention. You start to feel like a little more like it's almost like you're driving at night, like it's 4 a.m. You're like, I'm almost there. It's almost daybreak. I'm gonna make it. I swear.
yeah.
And sure enough, you're like, oh yeah, and then then you hit a car crash once you get to In Immorta, but that's besides the point. No, but that's this was the part on the record where I was just, is it over yet? Like literally, I was singing out loud, is it over yet? Is it done? What's going on? There's another 16 minutes on this record. Anyways,
Yeah.
I guess.
Wow.
Kyle, is there any hope for Too Far Gone?
Cow.
I think this might be the first track here where me and Mike are in complete agreement on a 5 out of 10. It's again album fatigue for sure.
Yeah.
Like not to the point of me. I don't think I had it as bad as JT where I'm like, oh, I can't wait for this album still going. It wasn't that bad for me, but the song itself, it's just one of those same sounding riffs. On its own, it probably would have been good, but it just at this point, I was just kind of bored. I think it has the weakest chorus of the record, to be honest with you. It is an unpopular opinion I've seen, you know, online. This seems to be a fan favorite, and you know, maybe out of context of the album, I'd feel different. But listening to the album back to back multiple times, just this is not one of the standouts. I think the solo though on this one actually does work. I think it's one of the few solos on the record where I'm like, oh yeah, I like the solo on here. I think that's it though. I mean, that's all I got on this one. But JT, I'm going to bring us into the next one because here's where, for me, the record absolutely picks up and ends on a massive note with Room of Mirrors and Inamorata, two of the best songs in the album. I'll start with Room of Mirrors. Finally, Mike's probably in disagreement here, but finally,
I was doing this
song, we have a dynamic shift from the intro to the first verse. And just hearing that made me so happy because it wasn't just intro riff, verse lyrics over intro riff. And it was so nice. We had that a little bit on Sleepwalk My Life Away, and then it just kind of stopped. I like the lyrics on this one a lot, being very like introspective, discussing like being open with others, like reflecting upon yourself. The one thing that drags this song down for me, this is a 9 for me. The one thing that drags it down is it didn't need a guitar solo. And this is something that I feel like the album as a whole suffers from, and Metallica as a whole occasionally suffers from, late career Metallica I'm talking about, is that I think they need to realize that not every song needs a guitar solo. I'm sorry, I know that's like blasphemy for a Metallica fan or a fan of like metal at all these days. Not every song needs a guitar solo. Sometimes you just have to play to what the song needs. I don't think this one needed it at all. It just kind of comes in and just throws off the flow for me. But yeah, I actually really like this one a lot. 9 out of 10. I love the throwback. Even the way he sings it to Broken, Beaten, Scarred. Awesome.
Wow. Mike.
Oh yeah,
2 out of
it's
10.
just four. It's a 4 out of 10 for me. It was just
Okay.
at this point, it was just kind of like even when they changed up, like Kyle was saying, I was just the change ups were like they were refreshing, but they just like didn't really add anything that could drive the expectation of what was to come in a positive direction. It was just, hey, a change up, cool. Like I just personally just saw it was just like too late. It's too late, man. You guys can't start doing this now. And like this needed to be a consistent thing throughout the album. So yeah, 4 out of 10 for me. It was just I don't really have much to say about it, to be honest with you. It was just not I just wasn't a fan of the song. If anything, I wanted to go lower, but I kind of came back out of the hole that I was digging myself into this with this album.
Maybe you were too far gone into the room of
I was too far
mirrors.
gone, and I was in a room of mirrors, looking at myself, saying, "Why am I listening to this?" And then,
And then you're screaming in a morta.
and Inagata Vida, whatever the hell it, yeah.
In a Gata Vita. Oh my
Shout
god.
out to Iron.
Oh my god, you got me there. Anyways, I actually, so when I was saying that I had album fatigue, I was mainly talking about Too Far Gone. The more I thought about it, Room of Mirrors, I do agree to both of your points. I'm kind of in the middle of both of you on this one. Like this is Room of Mirrors is a very, very good track. There's nothing like when I go back to it more than I like mainly I don't think I'd go back to it as much as I would because it's too far into the record unless I were to put it into like a playlist or whatever and click shuffle or stuff like that. But no, but in a more but Room of Mirrors, I did like it a lot. I it took me a second to realize what you were talking about, and then I was like, oh my god, that's right. We're talking about Room of Mirrors. We're not talking about Too Far Gone. What am I thinking? Like what's happening here? I'm losing my mind slowly after talking about this long record. No, but it's a very good track. I liked it a lot. It did end. It did. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle. Like, and the way you worded it was very carefully. You're like, it circles back to the beginning, like with 72 seasons. I forget how you worded that because
No, there's a callback to Broken, Beaten, Scarred from Death Magnetic in there.
Oh, I'm sorry. For some reason, because I thought you meant I thought you said there's a callback to the 70s, the title track that I missed. I was like, oh, what? You had my hopes up for a second. I was like, this is like it's like 21st Century Breakdown all over again.
No,
like,
no.
Callback. I thought it was like that. You had me for a sec. I was like, oh my god, because I forgot about that. Anyways, I digress. I thought there was that for a second, and then I realized, oh wait, you're right. Bummer. Too bad. Room of Mirrors. It's a good track. I'm gonna give it a solid like 7 out of 10. Nothing crazy. Super special, but definitely something worth listening to as well. And now we get to all 11 minutes and 10 seconds of In a Mortar.
JT, let me take this one away.
Kyle, you are in
got a lot to say. This is their longest song, longest original song. I'll say that because Merciful Fate from Garage Inc. was 11 minutes and 11 seconds long. 1 second longer. This is their longest original song. And Mike, he's over here saying he hates it. This track, along with Lux Eterna, are tied for my favorite. This is a 10 out of 10, straight 10 out of 10 here. This is like My Friend in Misery from the Black Album meets Fixer from Reload, and I adore both those tracks. I like the lyrics a lot on this one. It has the one mellow part on the record, and that kicks ass. It sounds so good. James sounds fantastic on it. And then when it comes back in and he does that, the one kind of like harsher vocal he does on the record when it comes back in and picks back up, amazing. It's the one song on the album that doesn't feel its length to me, other than like Lux Eterna, which is only 3 minutes. This is 11 minutes and 10 seconds and doesn't feel like it at all to me. Like, this is one I can just listen to. And that's what I love about this is what we were saying earlier about how you can have a long song. Like, it depends how you use that time in the song. It depends how you work the song. And I think they did it perfectly in here. It's the perfect album closer. It's the one song. If all the songs on here were the length that they are, if they were all long songs and they treated them like they did with this song, where it actually keeps it interesting, this whole album could have been points higher than I ended up going with it. But I love this song. Ends the album with a bang. Let's throw it to Mike so he can shit all over it.
Wow.
All right. Yes. Plotting, Black Sabbath, just mundane. My God, when he was yelling misery, I was literally almost yelling that out. Like, take me, like, misery. I can't do this anymore. I'm like 5 minutes in.
Oh my God.
You're killing me,
I'm
Mike.
dead serious.
You're killing
Like,
me.
I literally yelled that out when I was listening in my car. I was like, misery. I feel misery. Like, she loves me. Like, take me away. Like, like, I just like,
It's
oh
not
my
what
God.
you're
And they're
living for, I guess.
right. That's not what you're living for. Yeah, like, literally, like, it's doing this Black Sabbath-y kind of thing in the background, and it's so freaking slow and just freaking clunky that it to get to this point now at the album is it's just doing a disservice to like the original speed of the album. It needed to be put in somewhere in the middle of the album, like, and just to be this long ass song, it needed to be half the time, and it might have survived more, but it was just, my God, just painful for me to listen to. So and because I just don't like this sound for Metallica. It doesn't fit with their sound. It just feels like they're doing an impersonation of other sounds and kind of paying tribute to them, and it just doesn't fit for them. So yeah, just 4 out of 10. Just like, it was painful.
Oh,
Especially
Mike,
at 11.
you're killing me.
I'm sorry, man. I wish I could have seen something else in it, but it was just
Go listen to it without the album fatigue, buddy. I'm sure
I'm
you'll
gonna
like
try.
a lot
I'm gonna
more.
try. I'm gonna try, but I did listen to random songs that I had like lower ratings on, and like, okay, that's what I do. I listen to an entire album. Everything I had good ratings on, I tend to like put it on the shelf and say, okay, I'm pretty set on these. Let's go back to these ones and really try to like listen to them out of place. And I didn't listen to this one first, but I did listen to like You Must Burn, and then Crown of Barbed Wire and Chasing Away, and then Room of Mirrors and Amorta, like, not all together, but 3 here, 2 there, whatever. And they just continued to stay the same. But yeah, it was tough. It's tough, coach.
I actually really like this song.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Hey, fair enough.
So,
Fair enough.
I hate to put Mike in that position and put him in the corner.
No, trust me,
Fan
I was
favorite.
born.
But
I was born in this position.
I'm nowhere near as ecstatic about it as Kyle is. It's definitely above like a 7 for me. Like, I'm sitting at like, let me just tell you right up front, I'm sitting about like an 8 out of 10. Because the first time I listened to it, I was like, all right. Here, I mean, look, again, going back, I don't hate long songs. Some of my favorite songs of all time are like 7 or 8 minute songs. I get that. Listening to this, Mike, we know that you want to give it thumbs down. I get it. But listen, I actually did what Kyle said. I listened to that one song. I listened to each one. I listened to the album from start to finish, yes, a couple of times. But I went back and I listened to just select tracks like Amorta, or Lux Eterna, or just a couple of the tracks. separately, and it made a little bit difference of a listening experience for me. So I applaud Metallica for making an 11-minute and 10-second song. I applaud them. And actually at the very, very, very end of it, you kind of hear like them go like in the background, they're talking or whatever. I don't know if you heard that or not. That was kind of cool. Like in like the studio, I don't know, it was like the last 5 seconds of it, but whatever. No, this was a surprise because when I first saw it, I was like, "Holy God, this song is 11 minutes long." Because not many people are used to that, and some people are not used to that. I am, but maybe not to the fullest extent. But I really have come to enjoy this track. It really shows you how some bands can make songs that are long, but doesn't mean that they're going to suck, and it keeps it interesting and keeps it going. And I actually really liked it quite a bit. So I'm sending. I know I don't normally rate stuff like I said, but this is an 8 out of 10. This is a surprise 8 out of 10 because I did enjoy it quite a bit. I'm very shocked actually, but I did. I enjoyed this song a lot more than I thought I would. Because the first listen to it, I was like, "What is this?" Then it grew on me, like just like if Darkness Had a Sun grew for Kyle, this one grew on for me even more. I was like, "Wow, this one actually really like had unique parts to it and whatnot." And it was, I know Mike hated it, but hey, you win some, you lose some. Mike is just somewhere like, I see him now. He's like giving this double thumbs up, like, "You suck, JT." I know, like I know.
No, if anything, if you come from like my era of time listening to Metallica, where all you knew was what they had then, but you didn't like. You guys are coming from it at like where you had a lot of the albums out while you were kind of getting into metal and stuff like that. So your perception of Metallica is a more blended experience, whereas mine is like oil and water. It's like old and new are not meeting because they're not blended correctly. They're like we've gone over to one side with very little elements of the other. We're not somewhere blended in the middle, and that's really hurting their current sound.
Yeah, no, I mean, I see your point, and I'm just sharing my opinion too.
Yeah.
And Kyle has started drawing hearts around the song. We
Awesome.
do this show on Zoom, ladies and gentlemen. We do it live on YouTube, and on top of that, we do it and you can draw on the board too. Since we're letting you guys know. But yeah, that's our track by track. We tried something a little bit different today. We wanted to talk about each track one by one as a group instead of going like, "Hey, what was your favorite track?" I don't know. Stand and we took our time today, which was nice. Let's jump back over to any other comments for the track listing though?
Nope, I'm ready to give my rating.
Let's talk about that rating, guys. So Kyle, you go first. What was your rating for? It was a solid 8.352.
No, we got a light 7.5. Light 7.5. A little bit, technically average everything out. It's probably about like 7.4, but nice round numbers here. Is it their best work? No. But generally Metallica is a band that even their worst albums don't really go below a 5 or 6 for me. I can usually find something other than like Lulu.
Yeah,
I've been able to find something on any of their albums, including Saint Anger. Like there's a couple of really good tracks on there that get overlooked a lot. So there's always something. This album, it's no Saint Anger. I don't think anyone here would put it in the same level as that. Hopefully Mike wouldn't. But we'll see. Now, if we're looking at it in regard of the later era Metallica, let's say like Death Magnetic onwards, I would say probably sits for me somewhere between Death Magnetic and Hardwired. Death Magnetic, I never understood the hate for that. I think it's an absolutely incredible album, Metallica or otherwise. It's fantastic. Yeah, people have qualms with the production, but the songwriting was all there on that one. Great album. Hardwired, to me, the highs on that album were for sure, without a doubt, higher than the highs on this record. But Hardwired also had a lot of forgettable tracks to borderline bad tracks. But this album, like I said early on, it's incredibly consistent with what it does. And I don't think anyone can say that it's, anything otherwise. But it's consistent to a fault. What would have been nice was to have either another like Lux Eterna style track in there to really pick things up again, cut down on the track times a bit, or even just throw in like a ballad. Throw in, it doesn't even have to be like a Nothing Else Matters type ballad. It doesn't have to be fully, slow like that, but maybe like something like The Unforgiven, or like Fixer from Reload, or even like anything, even like one of the ballads from Load would have been great. Even like The Day That Never Comes from Death Magnetic.
That's a great
Something
song.
to like really change things up and give it a different vibe. But we didn't get that. What we got was a lot of mid-tempo, Sabbath sounding, just the same riff over and over, occasionally going into another. But now I think the big question here is, how does it compare to the last Megadeth album? I went back and looked at my rating for the Megadeth record.
Yeah.
That I gave about approximately 6.25. And I still agree that I think this is a better record than Megadeth's, depending on how you want to look at it. If you want to look at it in terms of what I would rather listen to, it's this album any day. But if you look at it in terms of what's a better like thrash album, what album has better guitar solos, more memorable solos, it's Megadeth any day. Kiko is an incredible guitar player. He killed it on that record. But again, Mustaine's voice kills that one. Go check out our video on that album. But I think this one is better,
Yeah. So you're sitting at a 7.5, you said?
7.5.
7.5, and it beat
Not bad, not great.
Beat Megadeth's rating too. Mike,
hey,
you love this record so much.
I can't wait to get the deluxe vinyl edition and have Kirk Hammett sign my man boob. But anyway, yeah. What is there to say about Metallica? If you're like me, you're an old school fan. Most of their current albums aren't even in the conversation. I never was a Load Reload guy, but I look back on those albums, then they have their modern sound. And if you think about it, a lot of their sound was tainted by the fame and departure of the kind of elements that I grew up listening to with Metallica that I fell in love with. A lot of their more modern, more edgy, thrashy, not to say thrashy, but like modern thrash. Not like old school thrash. The aggressive thrash riffs, the harmonized guitars. Those are the parts I really miss. And when I approach a new Metallica album and they're just completely gone, it's really hard for me to even put them in a serious conversation. And I know Kyle felt very strong about the vocal abilities of James Hetfield. I couldn't be more disagreeing in the sense that I listened to all the old Metallica albums with Hetfield's melodic voice, that the chorus was fresh. It kept going in a certain direction. But this one, he kind of just did a quick short vocal phrase and then stop, and then a quick short vocal phrase and stop. He didn't
I think that's more to do with the songwriting than his actual vocal ability, though.
Yeah, he could
probably. His actual vocal ability right now.
Yeah,
sounding the best he has ever.
100%, and I agree. If he had the opportunity in the song to follow a melodic kind of line of notes that kind of went somewhere, I think he'd do a great job. And he actually did. His voice sounds good, but he just doesn't have the opportunity. And if to just put some of my interest in perspective, Master of Puppets 10, Ride the Lightning 10, Injustice 9, Kill 'Em All 8.5, Black Album 7.5. I know a lot of people would be shocked. I know that I am stomping on. I am stomping on a lot of heads, but I want to give you an idea of the sound that I felt the Black Album shifted towards, kind of continued this trend, and the change that happened there really happened here. Just to kind of go over some of the things I thought about this album: clunky, repetitive riffs, drawn out intros that were slow and plodding, kind of just very forgettable, sloppy drumming, dumbed down so he could play it easier live. Solos are so underwhelming that I speculate that Kirk Hammett has been replaced by a replica, and the original Kirk Hammett has been abducted by aliens and is being currently studied. Maybe, I don't know what's happening, but the current one is not Kirk Hammett. I call on you to go and find out the truth, folks, because I really don't believe it. I want a blood test to prove it. But anyway, yeah, whatever happened to those kind of like amazing leads over the rhythm riffs? Whatever happened to the acoustic intros and all the stuff that I can never really go back to Metallica, never see anything in their catalog currently that can get above a 6. 6 is kind of like the starting. 6 is a 10 in the current Metallica. So 6 would be like Death Magnetic. Like that to me was like the best of the new Metallica. And then you go down to like 5 for Hardwired to Self-Destruct, and this album is a 5 across the board. It's just middle of the road. I wanted to give it a 4 because I was angry about the old Metallica, but I said to myself, okay, you can't just hate on something because you miss the old Metallica. You got to rate it for what it is today, and what it is today is just run-of-the-mill, basic Black Sabbath worship. It's kind of like maybe like a goodbye to say, hey, we're going to pay homage to some of our old heroes by playing an album that's the majority of it is kind of centered around a certain kind of sound that they're not really keen to. Sure, well, like thumbs up to that, but overall, in a way of blending some of their old worlds into their new world and maybe finding some kind of cool like modern day take on some of their roots wasn't achieved here, and I didn't expect it to be, which is why I went into this like it's going to be business as usual, and it definitely proved to me that it was going to be. So yeah, just 5 out of 10, unfortunately.
See, I'm kind of sitting at like, well, there's a couple things weighing it down. There's a lot of things holding it up. So let me just start off by saying that there are many different positives to the album, like the fact that we only have two or three writers per song. I mean, I know that sounds kind of like, it's yes, yeah. I know some people are like, oh, what's Metallica? I mean, I just appreciate them writing still to this day, and they're not hanging up, whatever. We're not, they're not done. Because their last time was what, 2016, right? So 6-7 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah. So going off Hardwired, which Hardwired, it's funny. There's a bunch of songs on Hardwired that I really, really like that I would go back to a lot. You're gonna have to give me more time, but for this record, it's gonna take time for me to go back to the tracks that my standout tracks, which would obviously would have to be 72 Seasons, title track, Lux Eterna, probably If Darkness Had a Sun, and actually, like I said, In Immorta, that last track was actually really, if I'm in the mood to like listen to something really long, I'm gonna listen to that. So
I think what you're trying to say is they need Bob Rock to come in and just say, what the hell's going on? Stop playing the same thing over and over again. Get up, do that guitar solo again. I actually watched a clip of him yelling at Kirk, going, what is that? And like, and they're like, what are you doing? Like getting upset at them over different aspects. Yeah. And I could hear his voice in my head as I listened to this going, what? You're gonna do the same pretty much 3 riffs again? Like do something different. So that's what you're saying, is they needed Bob Rock to come in and fix this.
I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. That's kind of where I'm sitting at right now. I do, if I was producing them, I would get Bob Rock no matter what. I mean, Bob Rock should produce them, period, because the Black Album is the Black Album. There's this reason why it's still
one of the best produced albums in any genre.
Absolutely, 110%. And that's no diss to Justice for All or Ride the Lightning or Master Puppets. Just the truth.
And Justice for All is notoriously one of the worst produced, mixed albums of all time. Great album though.
Great album. Unfortunately, that's true. I'm sitting at a 7, a solid 7 out of 10. I didn't love it.
I wasn't sure if you knew until this very moment the way you're deliberating. I was just like, does he know where he's sitting? He's just kind of I'm sitting at a 6.7, 7.
A 6.9 out of 10. What? 69, whatever.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm sitting at a 6.9 out of 10. I'm just kidding. No, I'm sitting at a solid 7. I have to listen to it more and more and more to let it grow on me, I guess. I mean, it could go higher, it could go lower, but I think it'll go. The more I listen to it, I feel like it'll be more fresh in my mind than it was just listening to it today. But yeah, I'm sitting at a solid 7 out of 10. It's not bad, it's not great, but it's if you're looking for heavy metal, Metallica delivered, in my opinion. But that's just me. I don't know if we touched on this too. Do we touch on the album cover at all?
how
No, but it's
terrible
awful.
it is.
It's god awful.
Yeah.
Like I just want to, for
Worst
those who are
album
listening,
cover of the year.
Yeah.
100%. Like
One of the worst of all time, to be honest.
it's so cringy. I mean, I remember when they first announced it, and then Kyle was we weren't live on camera, but Kyle was like, "Yeah, the album cover is like, it feels like a midlife crisis on them." Like, it kind of does, but it looks that way. I mean,
And if
musically,
anything, it's a testament to how little they think their fans are going to be aware that they're doing something that's like it's almost like when I was like Donald Trump said something like he could go down the street and shoot somebody or something and nobody, like, he could not get in trouble or something. I forget what he said,
His
like,
fans
but
wouldn't care. Yeah.
yeah, right. I feel like this is Metallica being like, we are on top of the world, friends. Like, our album cover could have like a dumpster, and like we could be sitting at like, and like you'd be like, Metallica, yeah, like you just like they've reached that point where they're almost invincible to like fan criticism, because people are going to defend them to like the ends of the earth. So it's like and in a lot of ways this looks just like straight out of like something like, yeah, who cares, like we really have nothing to prove anymore, we can put out whatever, crib, toys on the floor, cool.
It kills me because every time I go to a concert, no matter what it is, I try and get like some sort of merch or like a shirt or whatever. The shirts are going to be so bad.
I
like,
hope to God that they're just straight yellow. I just want them to be pure yellow with just like right in the little side pocket, just a little black M, and that's it. That would be hysterical. Wretched. And I guarantee you there will be at least one shirt like that.
It's gonna be $50,
sure. And if I see any of you wearing that shirt in my presence, I'm so help me God. I'm gonna like. You ever see those videos where the kids pull on someone's shirt and they rip it right off their body?
Yes.
Have you seen those? Yeah, I will literally do that to you. I will just come up behind you and just pull so hard to just rip the shirt from your body, like, and I'll give you the money for it as well, as a way of
Oh
saying,
my God!
sorry.
Because no, it's fine. Because Kyle knows I get shirts at every show, and I'm like, man, if I come home, my parents are like, what's this? And like, it's a yellow shirt. They're gonna be like,
it's yellow shirt.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, let's hope they have something different.
No, they're like a black and like a black shirt with a yellow back or something.
No, they're not. They're not like that anymore, JT. You're thinking of the old Metallica, where this is the new, different Metallica that can get away with this.
Damn, or at least a photo of like this with like the promotional image.
Oh cool. Yeah, I would take that right there with them and with the like they're heading into the future. Yeah, like
they're heading into the future.
Yeah, they're like the Captain Planet, like Planeteers going into the future to save the world from their previous self. They're going to kill their previous self, and then
we'll just Kirk doesn't want anything to do with them whatsoever.
Grandma Kirk.
Yeah, Grandma Kirk. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, guys, is it that time? Should we spin the wheel?
Spin the wheel, my friend.
All right, let me get out of here for a second.
Wheel.
1 second. Hold on. There we go. You're all set.
Here we go.
All right, you ready?
Is it going to be Molly Crew?
We'll see.
I don't know. We're gonna have to see.
It's the survivor from the last wheel.
I know.
It is the surviving one. Yeah.
I do have to make noise. I feel like we need noise.
Oh my God,
dude!
There we go.
I put in a special vocal. Yeah, that was crazy. Wow.
Wow.
Motley Crue's 1991 self-titled album.
Wow.
Oh,
that was you're welcome, Kyle. I'm the one that commanded it. It seems like I've commanded this wheel.
Hold on, Kyle. Hold on 1 sec. Can you
sorry, 94 album.
Oh, sorry. Kyle, can you just have me show the screen for a second? Thank you. Yeah, so that's gonna do it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching, listening, however you enjoyed us tonight. I want to thank Kyle and Mike for doing this as always. It's always a pleasure doing it with you guys, and thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Let's hope that merchandise shirts. Hopefully those shirts are not just yellow. We'll have to wait and see. And it's gonna be a hell of a tour. So we're excited to see them too. If you liked what you've seen here or heard here, feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube. Simply at The Super Review Show. Follow our social media pages, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and simply follow us on Instagram at the Super Review Show. If you really want to have a good time with us, our OnlyFans page. I'm just kidding. We don't have one of those. Just kidding, everyone. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, listening. Have you enjoyed us? We hope you enjoyed this conversation about an album that was pretty mid for the most part, but there was some good and bad in both. Hopefully enjoy it. But thanks so much for watching, listening. So for all of us here at the Super Show.